My name is Jessica Carver. I am 34 years old, and at 9:47 on a Sunday morning, I heard my mother say to my father, in the kitchen of her own house, 6 feet from where I was standing behind the hallway closet door reaching for Grace's rain boots, "The note is on the counter. They'll find it when they come downstairs. We need to be in the car by 10." She said it the way someone confirms a dentist appointment. No hesitation, no lowered voice. No awareness that I was right there, crouched in a closet that smelled like cedar and old leather, one boot in my hand, the other wedged behind a vacuum hose. My father responded with something I couldn't quite catch, and then my mother said, clearer this time, closer to the hallway, "It's not complicated, David. She reads the note, she packs, she's gone before we land, Bella already knows." I didn't move. I was holding Grace's left boot, the one with the scuffed toe from where she'd been kicking at a parking curb the week before, the rubber separating slightly along the seam. I could feel the grit in the tread against my palm. My thumb pressed into the sole, and I held there, perfectly still, and something behind my sternum did what it always does when a structure fails and no one else has noticed yet. It went cold. It went quiet. It started counting. That boot is how this begins, and it is how this ends. Before I tell you what I decided in that stillness, tell me, what time is it where you are, and have you ever heard something you weren't supposed to hear? Because what you do in the next moment defines everything that follows. But I'm not here to talk to my mother, not really. She'll hear this eventually, or she won't. What I'm here to do is talk to you. Before I tell you what I found when I started looking, what time is it where you are? I want to know how many people heard something they recognized in that opening. I need to back up. My right hand was still in that closet because my fingers already knew what they were doing before my brain caught up. I'm a catastrophe risk modeler, have been for 11 years. Insurance firms hire me to look at structures, buildings, bridges, systems, and calculate the probability that they will fail, when they will fail, and what the financial exposure looks like when they do. I don't guess, I model. I feed variables into frameworks, and I read what the math says, and the math doesn't care about feelings, it doesn't care about intentions, it cares about load-bearing capacity and stress points, and whether the thing everyone is standing inside was built to hold what's actually being placed on it. That skill had predicted 17 structural collapses in commercial properties over the past decade, exposed $4.2 million in fraudulent damage claims, and saved 3 firms from catastrophic underwriting exposure. It was about to run a failure analysis on my own family. I stayed in that closet for another 40 seconds. I know because I counted. Upstairs, Grace was still asleep. Through the door I could hear my mother's heels crossing the kitchen tile, that particular click-pause-click rhythm she makes when she's wearing the bone-colored slingbacks she reserves for airports. My father's keys jingled once. The garage door mechanism engaged, then silence. I stood up. Walked to the kitchen. The note was centered on the counter, propped against a banana that was already going brown. My mother's handwriting, the looping cursive she's proud of. "Grace and Jessica, we are taking a family trip. Please have your things moved out by the time we return. January 3rd. Mom and Dad. Family trip." The word family, doing structural work it couldn't support. I picked up the note, folded it once, and put it in the pocket of my robe. Then I walked back down the hallway, past the closet, to the bottom of the stairs, and I sat on the 3rd step. My hands were on my knees. I could feel my pulse in my wrists. Not fast, just present, like a metronome someone had switched on. I sat there for a long time. Something in me was running numbers I hadn't asked it to run. Then I heard the small footsteps above me. Grace appeared at the top of the stairs in her pajamas, the ones with the little foxes, hair tangled, face soft with sleep. She looked down at me and tilted her head. "Mama? Why are you sitting on the stairs?" "Just thinking," I said. "Where's Grandma?" "Out," I said. One word, flat. "Enough." Grace patted down and sat next to me, leaning her warm weight into my side. She smelled like sleep, and the lavender detergent my mother uses on the guest sheets. Guest sheets, we'd been sleeping on guest sheets for a year. To understand why I didn't scream, or cry, or call my mother's phone 16 times, you need to understand the architecture of this family. Not the events, the load distribution. I was the first child. Born when my parents were 23 and 25, renting a duplex in Garfield Heights with water stains on the ceiling and a furnace that sounded like it was clearing its throat every 20 minutes. My father was a regional sales coordinator for a plumbing supply company. My mother worked the front desk at a podiatrist's office. They were not poor, but they were specific about money in the way people are when there isn't quite enough, tracking grocery receipts, reusing aluminum foil, that particular silence when a bill arrived. I learned early that needing things was an inconvenience, not because anyone said it, because I could read the tension in the room whenever I outgrew shoes. When I was 9, I asked for a graphing calculator because my teacher said we'd need one the following year. My mother looked at me like I'd asked for a pony. "We'll see," she said. We never saw. Bella arrived when I was 12, and something in the house changed. Not gradually, the way seasons shift, but structurally, the way a building changes when you remove a wall and redistribute the weight. My parents became different parents. Bella got the graphing calculator without asking. Bella got dance lessons, a bedroom renovation at 14 with paint she chose herself, a car at 17, used but hers. I got, "You're older, you understand." I got, "We're in a better position now." I got the implication that my childhood austerity was somehow my fault for arriving first. The irony is that I'd spent my entire professional life calculating the exact moment when an overloaded structure would give way, running stress tests, identifying the beam that was carrying more than its share, predicting the point of catastrophic failure. And the whole time, I was the beam. Bella grew into the role my parents designed for her, the investment, the future, the one whose comfort was a family priority. I grew into mine, the support column. When Bella got into a private university, tuition, housing, meal plan, the full architecture of someone else's ambition, my parents called me, not to celebrate, to calculate, finance panned for Hamid. My father couldn't co-sign the private loan because of a defaulted line of credit from 2019 that he'd never mentioned. So I co-signed. And then, because the loan didn't cover everything, my card went on the university portal for the remaining balance. My mother's pitch was elegant. Move back home, save on rent, help with Bella's education. "You'll be saving money too," she said, as if my savings were the point and not the mechanism. I'd been living in a clean 2-bedroom apartment in Lakewood with Grace for 3 years after my divorce. Quiet mornings, no one tracking my movements, no one sighing when Grace left crumbs on the counter. I gave it up, packed our things into a U-Haul on a Saturday, while Grace asked why we were leaving our house. "We're going to help Grandma and Grandpa for a while," I said. She believed me because she was 6 and I was her mother, and mothers don't lie about where home is. Within 4 months, the narrative restructured itself. I wasn't helping, I was freeloading. Bella started calling me a dependent. My mother introduced me to her book club friends as my daughter who's staying with us for now. My father stopped making eye contact when Bella made jokes about my age. Grace started eating dinner faster, clearing her plate before anyone could comment on how much she'd taken. She was 6 years old, and she was already performing efficiency in someone else's house. Every month, $1,400 left my account through the loan. Every month, another $600 to $900 went through the university portal for what the loan didn't cover. Every month, my mother found something the house needed: a new microwave, a set of patio chairs, a rug for the hallway. And every month, the request landed on me with the weight of an assumption, not a question. In 14 months, I calculated later, I had transferred approximately $31,200 to Bella's education and put roughly $4,800 into household items my parents treated as their own. And now my mother was on a plane to, I didn't yet know where, having left a note on the counter telling me to vacate the house I was subsidizing. I spent 3 weeks after that morning building what I'm about to show you. But before I do, where are you watching from? Leave it below. I want to see how many rooms this story reaches. The morning they left, after Grace and I ate cereal at the kitchen counter, and I let her watch cartoons until her eyes went bright again, I opened my laptop. I didn't start with anger. I started with what I always start with: the data. Layer 1 was what I already knew: the note, the eviction. The trip I wasn't told about. I photographed the note, time-stamped it, and saved it to a cloud folder I created that morning called Structure. I documented the empty closets, my parents' winter coats gone, my father's dop kit missing from the bathroom, Bella's room cleared of her overnight bag. I noted the garage, both cars gone. I screenshotted my mother's last 3 texts to me, all from the previous week, none mentioning a trip, none mentioning moving out. The surface insult was clear. They'd planned this without telling me, and left a 7-year-old to deliver the message. Layer 2 opened 4 days later. I was reviewing the university portal. I hadn't yet removed my card, and I noticed something. The payment schedule showed a tuition disbursement for the spring term that was $2,200 higher than the fall term. Same classes, same credit load, same dorm. I pulled up the fall invoice and compared them line by line the way I'd compare 2 damage assessments on the same property. Housing, same. Meal plan, same. Tuition, same. But there was a new line item, student activity and enrichment fee, coded to an account I didn't recognize. I called the university's financial services office the next morning. The woman who answered was polite, careful. She confirmed the enrichment fee was real, but said it was an opt-in program, a semester abroad preparation fund, and that the enrollment had been submitted from the student's own portal login. Bella had opted in to a $2,200 study abroad fund and routed the payment to my card without telling me. I asked when the enrollment was submitted, December 19th, 5 days before the note appeared on the counter, 5 days before they left. My hand was resting on the edge of my laptop. I looked at it, at the veins on the back of my hand, at the way my fingers weren't moving, at the stillness in my own body that I recognized from fieldwork. That stillness that comes when you're standing in a building everyone says is fine, and your instruments are telling you it isn't. I didn't move. I was already counting. Layer 3 arrived in the 2nd week of January. I'd requested my full payment history from the university portal, every charge, every date, every amount, going back to Bella's first term. When the spreadsheet loaded, I sorted by description and date, and I started reading the way I read actuarial tables, not for individual entries, but for patterns. There it was. Every semester, the optional fees increased. A $400 technology fee that wasn't required. A $350 parking permit for a campus where freshmen aren't allowed cars. A $180 health and wellness assessment that the university confirmed, when I called, was a voluntary add-on. Bella had been padding the bill for 3 semesters. Small amounts at first, then larger, each one auto-charged to my card because the portal didn't distinguish between required and optional. The cumulative total of charges Bella had added without my knowledge, $4,740. Not a fortune, but a deliberate, repeating action that required logging in, selecting options she knew I wasn't reviewing, and confirming charges she knew would reach my account. This wasn't carelessness. This was an extraction schedule. Then I found something else. Layer 4. The one that dissolved the floor. There was one more thing said in that hallway on the morning they left. I'd held it, turned it over, not yet understood it. My father's response to my mother, the part I couldn't quite catch. I'd caught 2 words. Bella's account. I hadn't known what it meant. Now I did. I pulled the co-signed loan documents from my files. The original agreement specified disbursement to the university's institutional account. But when I called the loan servicer and asked them to verify the routing number on the most recent disbursement, the representative paused. That routing number doesn't match the university, she said. It's a personal checking account. I asked whose name was on the account. She couldn't tell me. Privacy regulations. But she confirmed the routing number had been changed in the servicer's portal 7 months ago. Someone had redirected the loan disbursement, the loan I co-signed, the loan attached to my credit, from the university to a personal bank account. And then Bella had been paying the university directly from my card through the portal, while the loan money went somewhere else entirely. $8,400 in redirected loan funds over 2 disbursement cycles, sitting in an account that wasn't the university's. Routed there while I was sleeping down the hall, making lunches, driving Grace to school, paying the bills that kept the structure standing. I didn't call anyone that night. I sat at the kitchen counter after Grace was asleep, and I laid every document out across the surface. The original loan agreement, the disbursement records, the university invoices with the padded fees circled in red, the payment history from my card, the routing number discrepancy printed and highlighted, the note, still folded, still in my robe pocket from that morning. I arranged them chronologically, the way I arrange site assessments before presenting findings to an underwriting board. Then I photographed every page. The next morning, I removed my card from the university portal. I contacted the loan servicer in writing and formally requested a review of the routing number change, citing unauthorized modification of disbursement instructions on a co-signed obligation. I requested copies of every authorization form submitted in the past 12 months, and I called a family attorney named Ruth Okafor, whose name I'd gotten from a colleague. Ruth listened for 11 minutes without interrupting. Then she said, "Bring me everything, all of it. And don't contact your family again without talking to me first." My mother called on January 3rd, the day they returned. I let it go to voicemail. She called again, voicemail. Bella texted, "Where is the furniture?" because I had done something else while they were gone. Every piece of furniture I'd purchased for that house, the sectional sofa, the kitchen table, the standing lamp, the bookcase in the living room, I had the receipts, every one bought on my card, delivered to their address, absorbed into their home as if it had always been there. I'd hired a 2-person moving crew on December 28th. Grace and I had signed a lease on a 1-bedroom in Parma the day after Christmas. Lauren, my friend, the only person I'd told, helped me pack while Grace and her daughter Emma sorted stuffed animals into garbage bags like it was a game. They came to the apartment on January 5th. All 3 of them. I could see them through the peephole, my mother in front, arms crossed, my father behind her with his hands in his pockets, Bella off to the side scrolling her phone like she was waiting for a table at a restaurant. My mother knocked twice. "Jessica, open the door." I spoke through it. "What do you need?" "You took our furniture," my mother said. "I took my furniture. I have every receipt." "That's not the point," she said, and her voice tightened the way it does when she's about to reclassify the conversation. "We need to talk about Bella's situation." "And there's nothing to talk about." "She can't register," my mother said. "There's a hold. She needs to contact the loan servicer about the routing number she changed," I said. "And she needs to explain where $8,400 went." The hallway went very quiet. "I don't know what you're talking about," Bella said from behind my mother, but her voice had shifted, not angry anymore, controlled, selecting words. "The disbursement was redirected to a personal account 7 months ago," I said through the door. The servicer confirmed it. "It's in writing." My father cleared his throat. "Jess, there's probably an explanation." "There is," I said. "The explanation is fraud on a loan instrument bearing my name." "You're being dramatic," my mother said, and her voice hardened into the shape I'd heard my entire life. "The shape that means you are making this harder than it needs to be. Your credit is tied to this too," Bella said, changing tactics. "If I default, it hurts you." "I'm aware," I said. "That's why my attorney is already involved." "Attorney?" My mother's voice cracked at the edges. "Jessica, this is a family matter." "It was," I said. "You made it a legal one when you forged disbursement instructions on a federal loan." "Nobody forged anything," Bella said, louder now. "After everything we've done for you," my mother said. And there it was, the loyalty appeal, right on schedule, arriving like a bill for services never rendered. "After everything," I repeated. I let the silence hold for 3 full seconds. Then I said the only thing I had left to say. "You didn't ask me to help. You designed a system where help was extracted, and when the system needed maintenance, you evicted the mechanic." Nobody spoke. Then a voice came from the end of the hallway. Ruth Okafor. She'd arrived 10 minutes early for our scheduled meeting. I'd asked her to come to the apartment that afternoon to review the full document file. She was standing by the stairwell in a dark coat, briefcase in hand, watching my family with the particular stillness of someone who has seen this exact configuration before. "Miss Carver," Ruth said to me calmly through the group. "I have the servicer's response. They've confirmed the routing change was submitted without co-signer authorization. I'd recommend we continue this conversation through counsel." My mother turned. She looked at Ruth like she was trying to calculate whether this woman was real. "Who is this?" Bella asked. "My attorney," I said. Ruth didn't smile. She didn't need to. She opened her briefcase, removed a single sheet of paper, and held it where my mother could see the letterhead. I'd suggest your family retain independent counsel before making any further contact with my client. I'll be filing a formal dispute with the loan servicer this week, and depending on what the investigation reveals, there may be a referral to the relevant federal office. Bella's face went white. Not red, white. The color people turn when the ground moves. They left. Not together exactly. My father first, then Bella, then my mother, who paused at the top of the stairs and looked back at my door like she wanted to say something. She didn't. The stairwell door closed behind her. Ruth came inside. Grace was in her room, drawing. Ruth sat at my kitchen table, opened her briefcase, and said, "Walk me through it from the beginning." The weeks that followed had the particular weight of consequences arriving on their own schedule. The loan servicer completed their internal review in February. The routing number change had been submitted through an online portal using credentials Bella had access to, mine. She'd used my login, which I'd shared 18 months earlier, so she could verify a disbursement date. The servicer flagged the modification as unauthorized. They reversed the remaining scheduled disbursement and froze the account pending investigation. Bella's university placed a financial hold on her registration when the spring payment didn't clear. She couldn't enroll. She couldn't access her meal plan. She called me once, from a number I didn't recognize, and left a voicemail that lasted 47 seconds. She didn't yell. She said, "I didn't think it would actually matter." I saved the voicemail. My parents attempted to refinance their mortgage in March. They'd been relying on the monthly savings from my presence, the rent I wasn't charging them, the groceries I bought, the utilities I split, to meet their debt-to-income ratio. Without that income supplement, the refinance was denied. The adjustable rate on their mortgage ticked upward. My mother called Ruth's office twice. Ruth's paralegal returned the calls with a form letter. Bella withdrew from the university at the end of February. She moved back home. I know this because Grace's school, they're in the same district, sent a notification about an emergency contact update, and Bella's name appeared on a form my mother had filed for Grace 2 years earlier, a form I hadn't authorized. I had it removed. My father sent me a letter in April. Not an email, a physical letter, handwritten, mailed to my apartment. It was 3 pages. He said he was sorry about the note. He said he didn't know about the loan routing change until after. He said my mother and Bella had handled it poorly. He did not say he had tried to stop any of it. He did not say he had spoken up when it was happening. He asked if Grace could visit sometime. I read it twice. I folded it and put it in the same drawer where I keep the note from the kitchen counter. I didn't write back. Not because I was punishing him, because sorry doesn't restructure anything, it just acknowledges the damage report. Lauren told me, in May, that she'd run into my mother at a pharmacy. My mother had looked thinner, she said, tired. She'd asked Lauren how Grace was doing. Lauren said, "She's great," and nothing else. Then my mother had said, quietly, "I didn't think Jessica would actually leave." Lauren told me this on her porch while our girls played in the yard. She looked at me carefully. "Do you want to know more?" I shook my head. My father came to the apartment once, in late May, alone. I opened the door that time. He stood in my living room, on the couch I'd bought, beside the bookcase I'd assembled, under the lamp that used to light his reading chair, and he looked around like a man standing in evidence he couldn't dispute. Grace showed him a drawing she'd made at school. He held it with both hands and didn't speak for a while. When he left, he touched the doorframe the way people touch things they know they're losing. He was the one I watched most carefully. The man who stayed quiet, who drove the car to the airport, who let the note sit on the counter, who heard my mother plan the eviction of his daughter and granddaughter, and responded with Bella's account. Not with objection, not with refusal, not with the single word that could have stopped everything. Complicity doesn't require malice, it requires silence and a set of car keys. He came back twice more over the summer, each time a little more present, each time a little more honest. He told me, on the 3rd visit, that Bella had applied for community college, that my mother wasn't speaking to him most days, that the house felt different. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He sat on my couch and watched Grace color and said, "I should have said something that morning." I didn't tell him it was okay. It wasn't. But I let him sit there because Grace deserved a grandfather who was trying, even if he'd arrived late. Last month, I received a notification from the loan servicer. The investigation concluded that the disbursement routing had been modified without authorization. Bella was named as the responsible party. The servicer restructured the remaining obligation, removed my co-signature from future liability, and referred the matter to their fraud department for further review. I don't know what happens next for Bella. That's not my model to run anymore. Grace started second grade at a new school in September. She has a reading buddy named Sam. She sleeps through the night now, every night, in a room she helped me paint the color of sea glass. She doesn't ask about Grandma. She asks about Grandpa sometimes. I let her call him when she wants to. I sat down last week at my kitchen table, the one I bought with my own money, in my own apartment, under my own light, to review a client's loss assessment report, standard catastrophe modeling work. The structure in question was a mixed-use building in Toledo that had passed every inspection for 12 years and was now showing hairline fractures in the foundation that no one wanted to acknowledge. I opened the file, pulled up the schematics, and reached for my coffee. Grace's rain boot, the left one, the scuffed one with the separating sole, was sitting on the bench by the door where she'd kicked it off that afternoon. I looked at it for a while, the same boot I'd been holding in the closet the morning I heard what I wasn't supposed to hear. It's smaller now than I remember, or maybe my hand is steadier. I didn't plan any of this. I didn't set out to dismantle anything. I set out to protect my daughter from a structure that had been quietly failing for decades. A structure everyone inside it kept calling safe, because acknowledging the cracks would have required someone to stop standing on the load-bearing wall. Consequences are not revenge. They are what was always owed, the invoice that arrives when the structure finally does what the math always said it would. Every system has a tolerance, every beam has a limit, and every person who silently watched the weight accumulate and said nothing, they are not neutral. They are part of the load. I think about my father standing in my living room, holding Grace's drawing. I think about my mother at the pharmacy, thinner, asking about a granddaughter she chose to leave a note for. I think about Bella, 19, sitting in her childhood bedroom, applying to community college the way I once did, discovering for the first time what it feels like when the system stops making exceptions for you. I don't feel triumph. I feel the particular exhaustion of a woman who finally stopped carrying a building that was never hers to hold.